It's 9 o'clock, and I think about 2/3 of the class is actually here because I graded the exam last night, and I recognize, I think there should be more people than, there are people sitting in the classroom right now. Several things. Let me first log in and pretend to be a student first, just so that I can show you what the exam will look like or how your grade book should look like at this point. If you log in and go to administration and look under grades, you should be able to see exam 1 at this point. Exam 1 has a range of values from 0 to 20, and your grade should be displayed here. And this would be a percentage of the grade that you're getting. And feedback, that should be pretty much empty because I did not leave any feedback for anyone. Are there any questions about, how to access the grade book? No questions? Okay. The distribution of the grade is kind of interesting because, we have a whole bunch of people getting D's and then a whole bunch of people getting A's and B's. So it's pretty much bimodal, according to whether people actually study the textbook or not. Either people do or people don't. Very few people kind of fall in between. Okay, so I can pass the exam back. Yep, go ahead.
It's blank for course total.
It's blank for course total because there's one category like the homework category has not been decided yet. So that's fine. Don't worry about the total. It's just
It doesn't give me my grades. That's fine.
Your grade currently is only based on exam 1 because we have not have any homework yet. And you guys will get a homework for the current topic, how to configure a PC, so that we will have a project. You will be pretending that you're helping out a cousin, or an aunt or an uncle to configure a computer. So you will basically have to go to the Dell or HP, finish the whole configuration, and explain to me why you selected the components that you have selected, why you opt for the options that you have opted for, and so on and so forth. So that will be your next your homework assignment, your first homework assignment. At this point, if you look at your grade, your letter grade is still based on the same ratios, the same breakpoints. In other words, anyone getting an eighth, anyone getting less than 1/8 of the total points will be an F. Anyone from 1/8 to 3/8 would be a D. From 3/8 to 5/8 would be a C, and so on. So the grade boundary is still the same. In other words, if you look at the percentage here and you match it up with the syllabus, you will basically know the quote-unquote equivalent letter grade for exam 1. Okay? Are there any questions about exam 1? No questions? Yep, go ahead.
When are you going to pass it back?
I can pass it back anytime. In fact, I can just let the whole class pass this folder along because the grade is not on it. I did not write anything on the papers. It is all done online. Okay? So what I did was I looked at all the paper, I collected everything, and what I did was I put it all into a spreadsheet. I wrote the macros or the formulas in a spreadsheet to actually automatically do the grading. So that way, if I mistakenly see that one is an answer, but it really was not an answer, then I can change the grading, and it will not. You guys don't have to turn in anything back to me for regrading. Okay, and I can also use all kinds of analysis tools and whatnot on the choices and stuff like that. Like if I see 2 columns being, hey, these 2 columns are almost exactly the same, especially for the wrong answers, I can actually now go ahead and calculate what are the chances that can happen. Okay, I haven't noticed anything yet, but then I haven't written the tools to do it yet. So that would be an interesting challenge to myself, is to write a tool to compare 2 columns and say what are the chances that 2 people will be wrong on exactly the same questions and wrong exactly the same way, given the whole class has a certain distribution of wrong answers. So that will be an interesting project. Do you guys want it back?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know how to do it. I'll just kind of split it into 2 piles. You guys can have it all in one pile. Or should I read the names? Which way? Read the names? Okay, you just don't want people to see your paper? Even though there's no grade on it?
Might as well just let us pass them around. Save time.
Well, I want to get familiarized with the names, so let's go ahead. Lawrenson. Okay. There you go. You. Okay, this one is interesting because this person does not have an entry in the class. The roster doesn't have a name like this, or the ID number. It's written here as Maaz, M-A-A-Z. Okay, so what's happening?
I talked to you like a week ago about it. I told you that I tried to enroll in the class again because I didn't come the first day.
Okay.
And you told me to drop me from the class, and then I tried enrolling again, and I guess it didn't go through.
Well, you have to go get a petition because at this point you're not in the class officially. So you can take a test, but there's no place for me to put your grade.
So should I go to like administration?
Yeah, go to the administration building and tell them that you have to add to a class, because of that situation.
Yeah.
Then they should give you what they call a petition form. You fill in your part of the petition form. I'll sign it off and say that this student has been in the class. It's just that the paperwork was never fully done. So the dean will probably sign it off when I say that yes, he has been sitting in the class all along. It's just that the paperwork was never completed.
Right.
I have your entries in the spreadsheet already, so I can give this back to you.
Yeah.
Okay, but bear in mind that you do not have an entry in the roster yet. So at the end of a semester, as it stands right now, I cannot give you a grade because you don't have an entry for a grade.
Understood.
Okay, Ray McClintock. Any side. And Lyle ready? Okay. Owens. Evans. Carol right here. Justin Chandler. Kelly Garver. Tango. Hey, this is actually a pretty good way of taking roll too, because whatever is remaining means that person is not here. Philip Marcino.
Marciano.
Huh?
Marciano.
Marciano. Marcino. Amanda. And I got your message, so you're part.
Okay.
Ku Yang. George Laura.
Here.
Go. Joshua Rushing. Benord Bradley. First name is Benord. Absent. Lu Chang. Brian Lipkin. Keo Chambers. Is it Keo or Keo? Xavier Jeffrey, right here. Cooper Bolden. And we have Eric Carter Jenner. Eric Carter Jenner. Here. Okay. Joe Meyer. Is Joe Meyer here? Joseph? Sometimes these names are not exactly the name on the roster, so I have to either go by the first name or the last name. Sometimes only one name is legible, at least to me. John Jones. John Jones, up here. This is a blank. Another blank. We can talk about the answers too. Chris Jones. Chang K. Say-Tier. 1177661. Here. Julio Reyes. Jason. Evelyn Lamb. Evelyn. Nope, she's missing. Jamie Naylor. Eric Nakashima. And Adrian Carras. Marco. That's it. Did I miss anyone? Does anyone not have an exam? But you took the test? Did you take the test? No? Okay. Did anyone take the test but do not have an exam? Nope. Okay. So I got everything? Okay, we can briefly talk about the answers, and I can explain why the answer is the answer and also how your score is determined. Okay, so we'll just go ahead and quickly go over this since you don't have a copy. That's one of my copies. No? You want to? Sorry? You want to? Yeah. Okay, there are 3 copies of this exam. The 3 copies of the exam have exactly the same questions, but the choices, some of the questions were reordered. Okay, so I'm not going to name the choice, so I won't say the answer of the first question is A or B or something like that. I will actually just spell out the answer, because that way you guys can actually identify what you have circled. Okay, question 1. Jack wants to analyze the expenses and earnings of his company over the past 3 years. What type of software should Jack use for the analysis? So the question is, does it involve calculations? If it does involve calculations, it is the job of a spreadsheet program, not a database program. A database program is good for retrieving stuff, like who was in the class last Wednesday. Okay, that would be a good database application, but not when you're calculating, when you're doing calculations based on earnings and losses. Question number 2, which of the following describes a shrink wrap license? You can see that, it's really difficult to come up with the choices, okay, because the correct one obviously is there. Then I have to come up with 4 bogus choices that look kind of right sometimes. So that's the challenge of a multiple choice test. The answer is, the license becomes effective as soon as the shrink wrap of the packaging is opened. Yeah, it is in the textbook, man. It is in the textbook. I specifically went through the textbook to look for stuff to ask instead of stuff that I talked about in the class. And you can see some of these are kind of funny too. I really like one of these. The license applies only to the plastic shrink